Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
And Sam Pruitt. What's up, beautiful humans?
Hey, you guys. So today, this is a topic that you had. The last conversation we had, our last episode, was a lot on fitness, which you are the queen of. Absolutely. And I think
Can
this
be.
one steps in the realm where I've had some queendom around, especially with disordered eating, but we're calling this one making peace with food, right? And subline of making peace with yourself, making peace with thyself, right? So start us off. Why are we talking about this? What do you want to
First,
share
I
with?
just want to say that we should start taping these podcasts 2 hours before we tape these podcasts because we prep for these things and then we spend time dialoguing about it. And the dialogue is next freaking level, as per usual. And then we tape the podcast, which is kind of hilarious. But we don't want to be a 3 hour podcast. So, to succinct matters, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah. We hope you guys get a lot out of this. This is so when Samantha and I first talked about, oh, we should, I forget if we said, we should have a food topic. And the last episode, we were talking about like your relationship with getting fit and fitness and redefining, what fitness is at any age and for yourself and not listening to the hullabaloo of marketing and stuff, but defining it for yourself. And we said, people have some jacked up relationships with food too. All right. So,
Yeah,
right.
well, I'm pretty sure I was confessing, mine.
Well, mine's on my website. I've had videos about it for decades, so my skeleton's
Yours
out.
is pretty public.
Mine's pretty public. 20-year addict. Yeah, all right. And I'm not even shy about it. Not,
Why should we be shy about it?
no, we should be
Hell no. We are
not
here to
proud.
liberate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. I
No
went through
shame.
that and I know so much more. And I have
Mhm.
helped people, right? In the course of this, that was part of why my part of giving back was when I created my eating disorder website. My first thing was because I was so transformed by hearing the stories of other people having disordered eating, getting out of it. For me, after 20 years, like, damn it, hearing the stories of people that had found their way to healthy living, kind of quote normal, whatever you want to call it, just like back to themselves. I was so inspired and it helped me so much when the days were dark and the nights were dark, dark nights of the soul, many of those. To hear people's stories, I'm like, I can do it. And I remember this one gal reaching out to me. Sorry, I'm just being a little tangential. I had
No, we need a backstory.
well, so I was doing my eating disorder coaching, had a website, and I really welcomed people to send me their stories, send me questions, whatnot. And this one young gal, and this was a time when I would make a lot of videos, like lots of videos. I really just wanted to help other people, and
They're
this
still up on YouTube somewhere.
yeah, there's like 100. Yeah, I'm happy with them. A little different, hair days and whatever, but it's all from the heart, right? And I had this gal reach out to me from Australia, and my website was one of the early ones where people from all over the world, because it wasn't so manipulated, let's say these days. It was Google, it was like, oh, you have good content, like Google will serve it type of thing. And so people were finding me and reading my website and, thank you for sharing and stuff like that. And this one gal reached out to me and questions. I would always answer questions myself. This gal contacted me from Australia. I think she was around 14. And she said, so I had a video up there about, I had recently interviewed a woman who had overcome bulimia after 40 years of having bulimia. I had it for 20. I thought that was a freaking lifetime. She'd had it for 40. Hey, interviewing her, talking to her was so powerful for my soul that we were sharing this story. I was like, oh my God, we are going to help other people who, like, can this ever happen for me? I'm like, after 40 years, right?
Exactly.
So this gal contacts me. She's 14 in Australia, probably feels like away from everyone in her family, whatever. She says, I have a therapist who tells me that I will never not have an eating disorder. And I
What?
about lost my shit, dude. I was like,
Wow.
what? And the way she,
Wow.
and so that was just like the first, comment, whatever. I jumped on YouTube. I made a video and I was like, A, I do not, so there's disordered eating, eating disorder, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. I'm
Yeah.
like, I do not have issues with food now. And I like zero, like there's no hint of, oh, maybe I'll go in the closet, whatever, like, oh, like an alcoholic, like maybe just one drink, like nothing, like, no. Do I overeat at times at Thanksgiving and, bountiful parties? And yeah, okay,
Whatever.
right?
Mhm.
Everybody does, right? So, but there's no, and I made this video. I was like, oh my God, please, honey, yes, you can absolutely recover from an eating disorder and have your normal life back again. So I know that's tangential, but I just wanted to kind of know that relationships with food can get very dysfunctional and they can heal and
Mhm.
they can be transformed. And we're here to serve and help people. And really, what we want to talk about is not like all the little micro questions that people have about, like, well, is this diet? And should I eat this? And when should I eat at a time of day? And timed eating and fasting and whatever. And I'm like, hold up. That's not
We
what
are
we're,
not that.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
is not what we're about.
All right. Well, get us on
Your
track
journey
because
is incredible. I know,
just,
but you took it out to the world, right? So you not only healed yourself after 20 years of just using a food substances in a disordered way, you
coping,
healed yourself,
coping.
and then you turned it around to help other people. But you say it wasn't about the food. It was about you, what was
Yeah.
going on with you, the human being.
Yeah. Yeah. And that took a long time to really understand, and phases. And I'd say after 20 years, there's lots of micro cycles. I was in high school or yeah, junior high school when I started. Then I had a college phase and it looked different. Then I had a post-college phase that looked different. Then it was like my 20s, third, so the
Mhm.
phases of that looked different. Towards the end, it looked nothing like it did when I was in my, so it was 10 times a day I was binging and purging. I mean, just imagine like how many hours of that time of your life that must
All consuming.
all consuming on the weekend. I would get up, kind of have a little morning routine, and then food would take the driver's seat and it would run the rest of the day. And I would not see any human beings for the whole day. It was me and a bag of chips, ice cream, refrigerator, TV, and toilet. And it was like, well, that's just not, that's not very good. That's not very good. Now, it didn't look that way when I finally ended it at, 34, I think was when I ended it. It wasn't that severe, let's call it. So
You
it had,
were a higher functioning adult at
yeah,
that point. You had to, make a living and do things, have
yeah,
relationships, whatever. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, but let's get back on track to healing the
Addiction is
relationship
no
with,
joke,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not about the substance that's being utilized or the activity or the behavior or the
Yeah,
fill in the blank. It's about the
right.
human being. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, healing thy,
Oh, girl, I got some things to say.
let's do it. Let's do
Okay. First of all, I want to start off with something that maybe is obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. How you look has nothing to do with how healthy you are.
Oh, amen. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. So my number one is reject diet culture.
Mm, mm,
And there's a lot of things we're going to discuss that I mean by that, but rejecting diet culture, making sure that your well-being is your
mm,
focus and
mm.
not your weight or the look of your body. Your well-being is your focus,
I
not your
used to
weight.
say, what does your weight on the planet have to do with your well-being? Like, who said that's a metric for well-being?
Exactly.
I mean,
Or a value of a human
yeah,
being. If you think of
exactly.
media,
I don't know if you've seen some of these where they have pictures of a woman who's 5'5", that's, 130, or,
mhm,
5'8", whatever. The body types can look very different. Fitness, they had those with the Olympic athletes, right?
yes,
Shocking, the
yes.
variations. Weight should just be, I don't know, anybody that's still doing it by weight or any of that stuff,
Or BMI, get
so
a grip.
archaic, so archaic.
Exactly. So let's just start by opening the door there in case
Okay.
people haven't
Yeah,
got the memo. We're
consider
just
that.
throwing the first memo on the wall. Post-it
Like,
note.
yeah, and the scale thing, that's just stupid. Like,
Oh,
sorry, that's just stupid.
yeah.
Weight
All
means
right.
nothing. It
And I know people say these things, but like we mean it. It's reality. It's the truth.
yeah,
Diets don't work. And the number on the scale has nothing to do with your health or your well-being
yeah,
or your value as a person or your beauty as a person. Nothing.
yeah, yeah. Please
So
take
maybe
that
they
in.
need to hit pause right now and just digest that for a hot minute. Okay.
All
All right.
right.
Number two, understanding that your mental and your emotional health are linked to your eating habits and your nutritional profile. These
Mm,
two things work together.
mm. So
No judgment, positive or negative there, but your mental and emotional state is linked, and the health of those entities is linked to your physical health. And therefore, what you eat, your nutritional profile, and how you eat, and things like that impact your mental and emotional state. That
totally,
feels
yeah.
empowering to me.
Well, you know, and this was just one little eye opener for me when I went through my hypnotherapy training. One of the things that we were trained on around anxiety, you know, helping
Mm.
people heal anxiety and not have anxiety attacks and all this stuff is freaking blood sugar. People do not understand the link between what you're putting in your body and the blood
Yeah.
sugar. Like I used to have a friend, she had huge anxiety attacks. She was one of those ones that would go to Starbucks, get the foo-foo, whatever, with the big whipped creamy
Frappy,
thing on
frap,
top.
frap, frap.
I'm like, and you don't know that that's causing a blood sugar spike and your heart rate is probably just going through the roof. No, it's not anxiety, it's dysregulation of blood sugar, you know, and like
And caffeine response and all
all
the
of it.
things,
Yeah,
all the
it's,
things.
but
Oh,
people
and
don't
she's
see
drinking
it.
that frap while she's driving 80 miles an hour down the freeway on her way to
Straight
a
getting
job
to,
she hates with her
yeah.
kids screaming in the back.
And
This
we
is a recipe for joy,
and
not.
we're making fun of it, but we make fun of it in
I
like the
know.
context of like, no,
Just
no,
know.
no, no.
Yeah.
Like there we can do better. We can do better, right?
We can do better. And
So
we always laugh at things here on the Everyday Awesome Project because we're awesome and we like to have fun. Okay.
exactly.
So fitness is fun. Food is fun.
Hells yeah.
Hello. We're into F's.
Yeah. The more the better.
Okay. Things that affect your nutritional needs as a human being are your genes, your activity level, your age, your sex, your age. This old lady needs to eat a little differently these days. Your
Mm,
culture,
mm,
your religion,
mm.
and your
Values.
health state. If you
Yeah.
have some health challenges and you're up against that, changing your nutritional profile and intake is warranted. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that impact what's going to work and what's not going to work, what's going to feel good, what's not going to feel good. So all of those things are variables that change over a lifetime.
Yeah.
Never mind for me personally, they change day to day,
Yeah.
week by week. You know,
Yeah.
my training cycle's different, my hormonal cycle,
Travel.
I'm
Yeah.
traveling, you know, all the things called life that we're all doing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
having consideration for all of that makes it pretty obvious that diets are a joke. They don't work. And nobody should be on one thing. There's no prescription to what's right and wrong, good
Yeah.
or bad.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny if you look back at history, diets didn't exist in the 1800s, the 1700s, 16, like there's no such thing as diet. It's only when we started manipulating food and
Mm.
having an abundance of supply of it, you know, thank you, lobbyists, you know, the meat industry, the potato chip industry, you know, whatever.
McDonald's.
Yeah, like there's so much mega business that's going on into these things that are pushing out chemically modified products, you know, the way that they can make you know, I remember eating Doritos when I was a teenager and being like, I have to eat the whole bag. It was like,
It's
what
crack
is
cocaine.
what
It's
is in
crack.
these things kind of thing, right? I would never eat a Dorito now, but it was like I knew it was
These things are
stimulating
magic.
something. Yeah, exactly. And food did not have that power over us
Oh,
in the
no.
1960s, 1950s. You know, I mean, like, yeah, you'd have a piece of cake at a birthday, or, you know, yeah, mom would make a special pie or something like that. But the fast food, fast consumption, ease that we can put
Cheap.
pure calories, yeah, into the
Cheap.
body.
Mhm.
Totally. Like when they invented high fructose corn syrup, game over. You know,
Game
like
over.
people are, you know, it's hard. It's harder because of that damn invention. They can put it in a lot of things cheaply and
Mhm.
people don't know, you know. And so we have been under attack a little bit
Mhm.
by our food system and whatnot. And then you marry that with a emotional context of a world that's faster paced. We're less connected, we're less interconnected. There's less religious faith supporting people's hopefulness for the future. They're like lost in the world, you know. You create the rise of the industrial nation and success as a, you know, metric over people's health and all these things. It's like there's a lot that's been going on in the last 40, 50 years that have gotten things way out of balance. So why people might feel so diseased around food or disordered around eating and what to do. I mean, I still get, I ask you sometimes, I'm like, oh my God, there's these people doing this fasting stuff. Oh my God, people are talking about these, whatever, you name it, protein, the latest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of marketing and messages that come at us. And I think what you and I are really wanting to get across in this is we're not choosing sides, we're not shaming,
We're not selling anything.
yeah, we just
Oh, we're
recognize,
selling one thing. You.
yeah, yeah,
Uniqueness of the human being. We're selling
yeah.
that.
And taking back the power back. Just as we talked in
Yes.
that episode on fitness, it was like take back the power in your relationship with your own fitness. Like, what
Yeah.
is it for you?
Yeah.
Like for me right now, it's freaking gardening. I'm having a blast, in my garden. Yesterday I did
You grew broccoli in
I
your own garden.
I did 90 minutes of yard work last night. I freaking high-fived myself. I was like, I am giving up the gym. Whatever, right? But like the
Mhm.
relationship to food can feel so disjointed. And what about this? And what about that? And we want you to just kind of step away from the noise,
Mm,
right? Step
mm,
away from the franticness, the outside messages, the should I do this,
mm,
intuitive eating, fasting, windows, what about this person, whatever, and just get calm and still a little bit, and take that power back and like self check-ins or with a coach or something to really start to clear the deck of what your relationship with food can be and can look like and start to create it yourself. Like as we talked about in
exactly.
the fitness, it was like, what are my needs right now in my life, in my lifestyle? Like I don't enjoy doing a lot of cooking for myself. I do more of my cooking in the morning, and then the evening, I'm like, it's gotta be simple. Like I don't have a lot of energy for the big, hoot and show match, right? So I structure things like that, and I like to grow some food now. It's like,
Yeah,
what is it for you? Some people love to cook and they just take such joy in that. And it's like, get after it.
totally.
Sometimes we need a little education in what to put in the body that might be causing some inflammation, causing some dysregulation. We talked about the sugary things and substances. High fructose corn syrup causes blood sugar spikes that lead to emotional dysfunction, the peak and valley, and I need a drink to get me back up, and all these things that can happen. Step the hell back, man.
Hmm. Hmm.
Take a
Well, you
time
went
out.
beautifully into number two,
Oh, let's do
which I
it.
love that. Becoming aware, and I'm saying becoming connected. So that's exactly what you're speaking to is like, how could you become aware, understand the connection to your body, how these things might be making you feel, why you're doing some behaviors versus others, what's making it into your grocery cart and into your fridge. Are you cooking? Are you not cooking? If you're not aware and taking time, stepping back, clearing the decks and taking a look, how would you wouldn't know. You're just going to go on business as usual, repeating the same patterns, right? The same behaviors, stuck in those ruts, if you will, around the same type of food consumption, the
Yeah.
same type of grocery shopping, all of those things that you've put into this giant bucket called eating and food are just on autopilot.
Mm, mm. And we
That's not
do,
good, right?
one of the things I think that can happen in today's, you know, high consumptive world, whether it's food consumption, consuming products that we tend to as Americans do, just a lot of consuming of work and business, and we're just out there doing a lot these days.
Yeah.
Um, we like having things that we don't have to think about, so it's like, oh, I've eaten the same breakfast for the same, for 6 months or 6 years or whatever, or I have a certain,
I'm laughing because when I first was on my weight loss journey, I totally did this. I was eating the same meal over. I didn't trust myself
yeah,
to go outside the lines. I was, doing this prescribed control.
yeah,
It was a false sense of security, but nonetheless, like regimented calories, all of this dysfunctional diet
yeah,
mindset behaviors.
yeah. And I think they have a place. We talked before we aired about, my experience. I've never been in a treatment facility, but I've had a lot of clients who had been. So I heard a lot of the after effects and what it was like in there kind of things. And one of the things, like you talked about, the structured eating, or, I can't tell you how many women reach out to me, can I get a meal plan? Can I get a meal plan? I'm like, oh, for God's sake. But there is a time and a place, I think, for some people who it helps to slow some things down, kind of get on so you can kind of like cruise in and go, okay, at least I'm not in chaos. At least I'm not at war with my body. At least I'm not disempowered around some choices. Or you know what? I'm going to turn it over to this little meal plan that somebody has helped me thoughtfully prepare. And I'm going to follow this so I can just get my training wheels on as I start to ride this bike for a little while.
Mhm.
And then I'll feel regulated more in my body and in my nervous system. I'll feel like I'm doing this, like I start to get little wins, like, okay.
Mm.
And then I'll make some new choices later. I don't recommend meal plans for, long term or forever, for sure. I think,
Or calorie counting,
yeah. Yeah, just like,
or apps.
like for example, you and I both in our training for sport, we do some nutrition planning
Protocols.
as well, right? It's like, oh, I need, things like that. So there's times when it makes great sense, but when you're not training, I know you don't do the same protocol. I know you don't do the amount of like mental masturbation around like, what am I eating every day? Like, no, right? There's a time and a place, I
Exactly.
think, for stuff like that.
Yeah, and as long as those things come without judgment, and we'll get into that. But yeah, as long as those things don't run you. So I use the word connected because to me, it's very, very important that the human, whether it be me or any other human, starts to know thyself,
Yeah.
right? What's going on with their body? I personally had nutrition and digestive issues, and I have an autoimmune disease, and that happens to directly be linked to what I put in my mouth. So there was a very painful journey in my late 20s, and I was very unhealthy, and lots of crazy things were going on. But with my nutrition and my eating habits and my food choices, etc., it compounded my health problems and exasperated them to a level that was just insane, to the point where I really didn't think I was maybe going to survive this. I didn't know what was wrong, etc. Right? I was overweight, all of that stuff. But that being said, it created more dysfunction
Mm.
around my eating behaviors and mindset, because food was now not just about starving myself to be thin or binging to find comfort. It was now also about, this food's actually killing me.
Mm.
I can't eat all of these things because they make me sick. And now I'm so sick. I'm sick all the time, every day. Food is the enemy. Wow. That was a freaking
Yeah.
head jack.
Yeah.
And the mental and emotional suffering that went with the connectivity between the disease state and the food was incredibly painful. And it
Yeah.
took years to separate that. I remember the first year where I really knew I had to make some major changes to what went into my mouth. I was so pissed off
Mm.
at everything.
Mm.
And, you have to eat to survive. Like, you have to put some calories in,
Yeah.
nutrition is there.
Yeah.
But I had gone through so many pendulum swings that like nothing seemed to be working. And therefore, I just had so much anger and resentment and fear, and all these fear
Mm. Mm.
around food. And the
Mm.
first year was really incredibly difficult. And honestly, I can't even tell you when I flipped the switch to do it differently. Actually, now that I just said that out loud, I know when it did. You know
Mm.
when it really started to work for me, and my perspective and my way of feeling about this body and how I fueled it, was when I started to find sports, endurance sports, and
Mhm.
athletics. And I shifted into a mindset of getting this physical body healthy so I could then become an athlete of some sort, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was a very different mind shift for me. And that's, of course, how I live now. But that's 25 years ago now. And
Mm.
that shift was very difficult. So I
Mm.
want to just show a lot of compassion. There's probably people out there that the same thing, food for them is a double-edged sword.
100%. I can't help, my mind went on a little bit of a tangent when you were talking, and I'm just really present right now to something totally tangent, but I feel called to say it, little woo-woo here. Because I know you're not alone, like, and I didn't have the destructive repercussions in my body that you felt, right, from the food that I was eating, and stuff like that. Mine, was an emotional sort, all this stuff that went on in my journey.
Mhm.
But I think about the millions and millions of people in our country and probably around the world, not as much as our food was exported back when you and I were younger, but caused by people manipulating our food system,
Mhm.
and it created this impact on us and our relationship with this body where it tore it down. Like
Oh,
if you
absolutely.
if the food hadn't entered the food system that was, you know, ripping apart your
Right.
digestive system, yeah, and
Mhm.
creating, massive blood sugar spikes and, all these things that people, I mean, the amount of people on diabetes right now just makes me so sad, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the food that is like if there was a better gatekeeper and an awareness early on, the amount of lives that could be saved in this
Mhm.
broken healthcare system that we have. I'm just present to this really big sadness I feel for what people not making smart choices that create food that gets into people's bodies knowingly, maybe unwillingly, kind of thing. And then their lives get on this downward spiral. And a lot of humans aren't aware enough. I know, for gosh, my parents, my dad used to drink a 2 liter of Pepsi, I think a day.
Oh,
No,
oh,
maybe.
oh, yeah.
Was
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Plenty of
He would
people were
drink it.
doing that in the 80s and even 90s.
Yeah. My dad used to
Yeah,
drink a 2 liter of
100%.
Pepsi a day. Like,
Hmm.
and had no idea. And I didn't know, as a kid, growing up watching him do that, I had no idea, I mean, I knew the smoking he was doing wasn't helping. I mean, like we knew then
Hmm. Hmm.
smoking, whatever, but like the sugar and the Pepsis and all these things. And it's like he wasn't aware. He couldn't prevent it from getting into my body, my mom, whatever,
Right,
and she,
right.
my mom's still unaware, still like do eating, whatever. I just wanted to say that like the amount of life impact these things have is
Well, you
just
said the
mind.
key word, awareness.
Yeah.
So we have an awareness now. The information is available, free online or whatever. Pick up a book, read, listen to a podcast. There's a
Mhm.
lot of information available to us. I think what's so calling in this moment that we're shining a light on is, become aware.
Mm.
You are the experiment of one. You're N1. You've got to figure out this. I had to figure out what is going to heal this person.
Yeah.
Never mind being pissed off about how I got here and all the pain and suffering and who might be to blame and whatever.
Get back in
I'm
the
over it.
driver's seat. Yeah.
Get back in the driver's seat. Take ownership and agency over this one body
Yeah. Yeah.
and this life
Yeah.
and make a choice to, okay, at that point, I wasn't even 30 yet. Am I, is this how it's going to go? And of course, that's what Western medicine said is basically, this is how it is you're going to live. No, no, just no. I mean, to me, it was basically, I would have just signed my own death certificate.
Right.
Literally, that's what they were. Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean,
No.
it's totally insane.
No.
So you can any day become more informed about yourself and your own body. How does my body work? How do the organs work? How does the brain and the body work together? What
Mm.
happens with my blood sugar when I do that? Like you can become a nerd. You don't have to be a crazy nerd, information junkie like me, but the science is always changing and I'm fascinated by it. It is
Mhm.
always changing. But you can get to know yourself and
Mhm.
become aware about this one precious body that you have, right?
And one of the tests I think you asked me off air, like about mindful eating or whatever, and I just want to insert this right now is like the test for should I be eating this or like as you eat it, like, do you feel a little shame about what you're about to put in your body?
Mhm.
Do you feel a little sneaky about what are you hiding what you're about to put in your body from other people? Like if you were sitting at a party, would you want people to know like you're eating that or as much of that as you are? Then you're probably already aware, right? You're just not, taking care of yourself,
And
right?
I would say that because that wasn't my experience, but I completely understand where you're going. For me, it was, am I aware when I eat the thing or drink the thing or whatever is happening with my food and nutrition? What's happening immediately? I would get flushed.
Mm,
I
mm,
would get rashes. I would get constipated, and then the next day I'd have diarrhea. I mean, literally, these things were so glaringly obvious how my body was responding to the things going into my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And how could I ignore that?
That's
I
true.
did, by the way, ignore that for many years, which is kind of mind-boggling. But once I became very aware and awake, I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, that thing immediately made me feel bloated, immediately gave me gas, immediately gave me a flush red neck, immediately, like these responses were quick
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
couldn't ignore them anymore.
Yeah. Some can be and some can be silent, but they can kind of be just, ticking away at parts of the body, the inflammation, a little bit here and there. But yeah, so I
Mhm,
think we're
mhm.
kind of talking about similar but two different,
Yeah,
checking in with yourself. How is this food going into my body? Like you may be eating that piece of food and feel totally fine eating it. Like, oh, this looks like something that I would, be happily, yeah, I could eat this. But my body says a different story. That's one way of knowing, right? Like, holy cow, I've got to go to the bathroom, or
yeah.
the bloating, distension.
Yeah. And now I mentioned, I have this mindset about eating as an athlete would, but myself, not other athletes, so not a comparison model, but so I'm concerned about, how did I fuel and what was my performance physically and
Mhm.
also my brain function and whatever. And it's very obvious if you do fuel for a workout or you don't. I went through all the
Well,
crazy
tell people
fads
what
of
that
like
means.
fasted.
Tell people what that means, because I don't think people who, and I don't know if anybody cares, but like you and I know when you're not fueled, literally for the workout. What does that look like? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
What does
yeah.
that mean?
So quick side tangential here too is and being a postmenopausal 55-year-old female, my fueling has changed radically for performance as well. But I went through all the fads of like, fasted workouts and fat adaptation. I was an ultra runner, all of these things that were like hot and sexy. I've tried all the crazy things, girl. But what we're saying here, and none of them worked, by the way. But what we're saying here specifically is that the human body to requires nutrition, energy,
Mhm.
okay, fats, carbohydrates, all of these different fuel
Mhm.
sources, protein, of
Mhm.
course, in order to function. There's lots of functions that are happening all the time in the body for the body to stay in homeostasis, to stay in a healthy form. So when you require more from it, physical activity, as an example of what we're saying here, the increase in demand is naturally going to occur, right?
So what she's talking about is bonking, right? Like, so, one of the things that you
It's
experience is
women
bonking
are
is like,
famous for underfueling.
yeah, so you go out on a run or something and you get past the amount of fuel, let's say, that your body has on board, not
And
just in your,
depending on the level of exertion, the fuel
right,
source
right.
is different. Yep, yep,
So for
gotcha.
me, here's an example of what this looked like. This was a dehydration one.
Oh, okay.
This was the first day of Trans Rockies in Colorado. It's the warmer of the days, right? A little
You're
less
at like
hill climb.
9,000 feet elevation.
Yeah, a little less hill climbing, but good distance, but it's a little dry, whatever. So I made the mistake of I had my little backpack on with all my little snacks and it had a water bladder and I'm cruising along, I feel like I got enough water. And I think it was the first aid station or the second aid station. Can't remember what mile, maybe it was like the third aid station. So I think it was about 16 or 18 miles that day, up and down hills and pretty
Hills, you mean mountains, right?
not, these weren't the worst ones. These were
Okay, okay,
mild mountains compared to
okay.
what was the next day and the next day and the next day. But yeah, so that's why I'm saying mild mountains.
Okay.
But the temperature, it was warmer, right? So you were sweating a lot more that first day. And I got past the second aid station, and I think I was chatty Cathy at that aid station. Did not refill my bladder. Get within about 2 or 3 miles to the next aid station and almost could not lift my legs. Like the pistons of my legs that need to get me up and down. It was like, it was just like this. I was like, I'm slowing down.
We can laugh about it now. It
I-
wasn't funny at the time.
oh my God, I
It's
was
scary.
fucking freaking out.
It's
I
scary.
was like, and because I had been, kind of trying to do this balance, I'm not going to go too much,
Yeah,
God
yeah.
bless people, but it's a balance of electrolytes and water and da, da, da. So I had taken a little too many electrolytes and not enough water. and the imbalance created this friction, whatever. And so literally, so I was like, and I was so embarrassed to ask people for water, but I knew I
Oh.
wasn't, I didn't know if I was going to make it. Literally did not know if I was going to make it to the next aid station.
Mhm.
This gal came up next, like 2 or 3 people had passed me, and I was like, I'm going to have to ask somebody for some water. I'm not like, these legs are just going to lock up. Like
Mhm.
that's how it
And they
felt.
will. They
Yeah.
literally will.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
this gal gave me a little bit of, shared a little water. I was like, I felt so embarrassed, but my God, I'm dying here,
Exactly.
bonking, whatever. Start to feel it coming into my body a little bit. I drug my ass into the next aid station, got down on the ground, and the nurse was like, I had salt crystals. I was like, I'm so dehydrated. She's like, I think you're a little over salt, because I had been, just so much salt. Anyway, so that's just what, when you're not fueling properly, like the body knows and tells you. We got a little tangential, sorry, but
Oh my gosh.
it's
Yeah.
fun. This is our
It's
show.
fun.
This is
That's
our
right. That's right. But we've done some
show.
really stupid things. That's why we like to talk about it, and it's
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But I mean, the point is, like, we've learned a lot from our mistakes,
Yeah.
and we're still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done some things for sure, hydration and nutritionally and extreme stuff where I thought I might not make it out of this life. But somehow here I am.
Totally.
Anyway, the point is the demands of the body are always changing.
Mm.
Okay. And so what someone else is doing, either other athletes or other people or other family members or other, what the hell does that have to do with what I need
Yep.
based on my personal body? So really that's the drive home point, which we've, banged it with a hammer, of course. Become aware and become connected.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, there's a lot of information. Inform myself. Number 3,
Drum
I think
roll.
I think you're an expert at this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Release guilt, shame, judgment of yourself and others. Okay? And others. Explanation point
Mm.
underlined.
Okay, Wikipedia,
Talk to that.
you need to explain guilt and shame. Give us those definitions before we begin.
Mm,
Yeah, Brene Brown, this is so good.
yeah. So they are different, right? So shame is that really deep, deep stuff that a lot of us carry around. And hopefully we have worked to release it.
Temporarily, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. So guilt is like, I've done something wrong. So I've made a mistake. I've made a bad choice. I feel guilty about it,
Mhm.
but I'm not a bad person. Whereas shame is, I am wrong. I am broken. There's something wrong with me. It's that very deep, deep, underbelly stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And that leads to all sorts of self-loathing that leads into other disordered behaviors, right? Coping.
Lots.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Addiction, self-abuse,
so say
everything.
that again. What was it? Releasing shame, guilt. What was the
And
one?
judgment of yourself and others around food and eating.
Mm,
It's crazy how much of this there is flying around in the universe.
mm.
We need to really rein this in, all of us as individuals for ourselves, but society as a whole.
Well, I think, we're in such an Instagram culture, TikTok and Instagram and, the runway and all that stuff. It's like, what is being served? And I'm just going to speak to women here. I know that men feel this in some degrees as well. So, but, the categorical female body or what it's supposed to look like or what they, march across, videos or magazines. We just need to realize that that's just selling magazines. That's just selling advertisements, right? It's not selling well-being.
I would say it's selling self-loathing.
Mm, mm.
Whew.
Comparison, stacking up, helping realize what percentage of the population actually looks like any of those people and the
And who the
rest of
hell
us.
cares?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why did we even deem that those attributes were valuable?
yeah.
Who said?
I know. I
Yeah.
said, survival instinct in some cases, I think, is a culprit, if you will. But and I also wrote this really long blog one time about, I call her Miss Perfect, right? It's this little nasty voice we have, females especially, in our head, and it's, we're never enough, we never do enough, we're never pretty enough, skinny enough, rich enough, tall enough, skin, whatever, like that she's always judging who we are, right? We have to put her in a little compartment and she has a little say because you know what? That little inner critic, she's nasty, but she's probably not going away, right? And it's having a new relationship with that voice and however it wants to shame you or whatever, because I don't truly believe that the human soul and the human spirit inside of us shames ourselves. I don't
No,
think we
no.
we ever guilt ourselves, we shame ourselves, we feel bad about ourselves. It's the critic that we let, we've programmed into our mind. It's probably some programming from behaviors of people that were around us when we were growing up. And when we can set aside that's that shame and that guilt, oh, that's just a thought I'm having, or that's that Miss Perfect in my head, or that's the inner critic that I don't need to listen to that train of thought, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to hear it, but I'm the one who's listening. I'm not it. Who I am is the soul and the spirit that's so much more and so much bigger than this little voice in my head. She doesn't control me.
I call it the evil twin.
Yeah.
Everybody has an evil twin. And I told you the other day, I was out on a long run and
All
I was like,
right.
oh, everything hurts. And, it's not going to go well. And this is awful. And I got to be out here half the day. And I had all these crazy things in my head. And then I was like, who was talking?
I'm listening to this voice.
It's that person. And I was like, oh, hey, and then I just switched the voice and started having different messaging. Oh, this is going to be fun. Doesn't matter how long I take. I'm going to go slow. I'm going to look around. I'm going to enjoy the beauty. Right. It's so fascinating, but that's that evil twin, dichotomy. Then the other thing is, like you mentioned, other people. So the amount of influence other external humans, family members, loved ones, partners, girlfriends, peer groups, whatever, children, influence our eating habits and
If
our
we let them.
relationship with food.
Boundaries, dude. This is a big boundary conversation.
If you're doing some weird shit, I mentioned eating Little Debbie's on the sofa. I mean, what the hell? A plastic wrapped ho ho Twinkie doodah.
Right, right.
Not
Well,
even real food.
tell the story because this one shows up a lot in the coaching that I used to do around the mom who was coaching or was shaming her daughter, her adult daughter. We were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. One of my coaching clients was having a breakthrough about something completely unrelated, but what came through in our conversation as she was talking about some things she experienced, instantly she had this wash over her of guilt and shame around feeling, she used the F word, fat, while she was doing a particular activity and how she was being viewed and seen. And she realized that all of that was coming back to a childhood experience that was now becoming back in her life, a relationship with her mother. When she was young, her mother would say, eat, you have to be healthy, strong, would push the food. And then now that
Because she's skinny, because she used to call
she
her
was
skinny. You're too skinny, little girl. You're too skinny. You need to put on weight, right? Mom influencing what? Yep, keep going. Okay.
Now that she's mid 40s and entering menopausal years and all that kind of stuff, and a little bit heavier and has been less active,
Two
but it doesn't
children.
matter. Yeah, 2 children, businesses, all of this amount of responsibility and stress. Her body looks differently. Of course it does. She's gorgeous. I mean, seriously. But she went to do this event and felt very uncomfortable in the outfit she was wearing. Spandex is a thing at these events. And realized that her mom, who's back in her life now, was still having a conversation with her about food. But this time her mom was telling her she's fat. Whoa.
Mm.
And here's this grown adult woman now raising children of her own. I mean, she wants to break this cycle, and it was a really powerful moment for her to recognize this messaging that she had been receiving. And she said, that's it. I will no longer tolerate being treated this way, being talked to this way, being put down and judged this way. I don't want to judge myself this way. I don't want to be judged this way, and I don't want to judge anyone. Stop. I'm putting an end to it.
Good. Good. Take all of this conversation, no matter what you get out of this, is taking your power back, right? Food is what you're putting into your body. That is a choice. If you're mindful in it, is a choice. So
Yep.
take the power back, clear the deck, don't let other people's behavior, one of the ones that just bugs me, I've not been in this scenario myself, so I'm a little bit judgy about it, is the people who make, to me, the excuse or the reason why they're not eating the way that they want to eat.
Mhm.
Well, I live with this person, or I have to do the cooking, or they do, or this, and I'm just like all this finger pointing, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, hold up. Does that person put that food literally in your mouth? And yeah, I'm like, no, so it's like, and I know it can be more work for some people, like, oh, I got to feed the kids. I just eat what the kids eat or something like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's a pretty low quality excuse in my book. You're worth more than that. You
Well,
are
it's a
worth more
sign of
than that.
giving up your power. And an example for me is when I had to radically change my nutritional program to get healthy, never mind lose weight and all these other things, just to get my health back. I had to radically change the whole nutrition and, what was happening in the house. And of course, I have children and I have a spouse and I have all of these things, right? And so there was some steep learning curves. But most importantly, I had to continue every day setting my own boundaries and stepping up for myself. Well, these are what I need. So I'm going to be meeting these needs.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
I was just
that's
gonna say your
my
hair,
hair
I
is
think, is
getting
making
annoying.
a
I
little.
have a wild
There
hair
we
day
go.
today.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I was just hearing a little rubby. So thank you for doing that, my dear. Thank you.
Yeah. So I hear
You,
you, and I have been there too. I think it's really important for people to decide what is going to work for them.
yeah.
So the flip side of what you were saying and what I want to actually add to that is that it's not my job to convince the other what they should be eating. Even I have children, I have grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay, now when they come to eat with me and they're in my home, they're going to be eating what I'm cooking and it's going to be happening according to my grocery shopping and my habits. But whatever they're doing over there, it's not my job to
Mhm.
change that. And if
Mhm.
a mother type or a father type or somebody who feels a sense of responsibility for others in whatever dynamic, even at work, you know, in workplaces, people bring food in and there's just food sharing that happens a lot or going out to lunch together. The other person's doing them. You need to be busy doing you
Mhm. Mhm.
and stop.
Yeah, and it can feel like some pressure, It
It's
can feel
100%,
can feel
100%.
pressuring, it can feel intimidating, it can feel isolating a little bit. I remember, when I was first, I remember at 18, I wanted to be vegetarian because I felt so much for the animals. I had studied a lot in the mistreatment of animals, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I can't eat, animals. And then trying to eat around my family without eating what they were eating, there was a lot of discomfort, and it was awkward and whatnot. And I think we've come a long way, right?
Mhm,
But I think it's fortitude in yourself. Like, this is a relation, like your body is yours to take care of for the
mhm.
duration. You
Yep.
you came into it and you're going to leave with it. And how you take care of it is up to you. And if you give that power over to, well, this person and that person, and uncomfortable here, hold up.
Mhm.
You're solely responsible for this meat sack that you've got here. Like,
And you
give
don't
it.
have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
And you do not have to prove your worth to the other.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to, pick something different for dinner. For example, if I go to a family function, especially in
Yeah.
the beginning of changing my
Yeah.
nutrition,
Yeah.
I'm eating a completely different meal than everyone else. They want an explanation, Polly,
Yeah.
right?
And when we're in
I don't have
training,
to explain how awesome I am and what I need. Or when I'm in training and I'm next level, like doing whatever.
yeah, I'm not
Now,
going out to eat at that food. Like, I'm going this weekend with my
hell
college girl.
no.
So the text chain has started with my college girlfriends. One of them, I think, listens to this, so this will be funny when I see her.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay.
So, they're like, what should we make? And this and that, and
Uh-huh.
sorry, this is super compartmentalized, but I swim in the organic, and, you
Sure.
know, I have preferences for the amount of
Dude, you're
plant,
growing your own food in the front
yeah, the
yard. I mean,
plants that I eat and stuff like that. And they're a little more comfortable with a little more, let's call it mainstream America food and whatnot. And so it's like we show up to these, we meet once a year, for our little college girl get-togethers. And they're like throwing around, I'm gonna make a recipe of this and that, and and I know I don't want any of it. And I'm just
Yep.
like, and there's no part of me that is like, well, maybe I should eat what they're eating. Or, oh, it's like, you guys might want to look at what I'm eating. That's what I want to say. But I don't go in there with that
Yeah.
either. I'm just like,
No.
you eat what you're going to eat, and I'm going to eat what I'm going to eat. And if there's a meeting in the middle, if you're meeting with mixed households or, preferences or something like that, like sort it all out. But please do not give up the care for your body to the reason that somebody else in your life will say something or look a certain way or, okay, yeah, like, no, it's your responsibility. Take
Yep.
care of it. Yeah.
Well, that's a full circle moment for us to close this thing out because the show is about making peace.
Yeah. Well, we have some things to say about that, so we're not done yet. Oh, no, no, no. We have not said enough about making peace with yourself.
I know. I
I
know. It's
mean,
so true.
because,
Mm.
I just want to say, when we started talking about, and we should have recorded the first, hour or whatever we talked before we got on here is,
Because the real point is, Polly,
well,
it's not
and
about
this,
the food.
so, no, no, that's really in all the years of eating disorder coaching and the various dimensions that I saw, the people who came through my door, if you will, of struggles with this, struggles with that. In the psychology world or in the medical field, they say the presenting condition is how they language it. They say presenting condition. Well, and then they discover, so that's like a way of saying you go into your doctor and you tell them your symptoms. I got a runny nose and some bumps on my neck, or or my tummy's distended or whatever, and it's like, well, that's not the cause of things. That's your presenting conditions, right? And it's like, what's behind that? And in all my years of eating disorder coaching, if I had to sum it up where I am today and how I look at what helped me and what helps, I think, people is not so much focusing on food. It is about your relationship with food, making peace with food, but the underlying is if you have a disordered relationship with yourself, if you're not trusting yourself, if you're not taking good care of yourself, if you're not at peace with thyself, there's going to be big and small manifestations of that. The symptoms of how your body looks, the way that you're treating it, the decisions that you choose in the food, the coping mechanisms that you lean towards to, suffice when you're not dealing with emotional dysregulation in your life. Um, at the heart of it is the peace you have with yourself. And if you can remember that state of peace, because you and I were saying, you're like, I don't have issues with, this and that and what I'm eating. And I was like, yeah, because you're so at peace with yourself, Samantha, and I'm at peace with myself and who I am, right? Not like boastful, but like we generally like who we are. We recognize our flaws and our mistakes and our imperfect, beautiful imperfectness, right? And when people get so microscopically focused or myopically focused on, should I eat this? Should I eat that? I need to do whatever. I think it is a distraction. I think it's a emotional distraction or an avoidance technique from maybe something else in your life that you haven't picked up in the dark parts of your soul in your closet needs some
Mm,
attention.
mm,
Something you may want to look at. And it's not usually solved easily, like, oh, I'll cut back on my sodium, or maybe I'll add a little more protein in my diet. It's usually not the work that's necessary. So if you are having a not peaceful relationship with food, I think the core is, where may you be out of peace with yourself? Where do you maybe need to make some peace with boundaries, right? We talked about that.
mhm.
Self-love, self-care,
That's huge.
self-compassion,
Huge.
self-trust,
Trust, huge.
self-worth,
Hmm.
all self-identity, like all of these dimensions of self are the underlying cause or the underlying root of what will symptomatically show up as a disordered behavior, food, alcohol, whatever, any other sorts of misbehaving, let's
Hmm.
call it.
Hmm.
So if we can do the work, the actual work, and know that, maybe it is because I need to eat more vegetables, or maybe it is I'm eating too many candy bars in the day or whatever, but what's really going on there?
Hmm.
Is it because I'm
Hmm.
avoiding something that I don't want to look at? So I just wanted to say that so that I think that's my underlying core message in a make peace with food is it's under a high level symptom that underneath is probably pointing to something that, my gosh, I hope you will address so that it's not 40 years of a relationship you have that's disordered with food. It can end and you can heal whatever it is maybe that's not healed inside of you.
Make peace with yourself.
Yeah. 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 And get help and do the work and stillness and quiet in those moments when we're reaching for something outside of ourselves. I find myself, a little frantic in the afternoon still, and I want to reach for something to calm me down or whatever. And it's like, hold up, right? It's like I'm spinning myself out. I need to get in my garden. I need to lay on my bed. I need to pet my cat, whatever. Not as a distraction, but I need to settle myself down. I'm not at peace with myself in this moment. That's why I want to
Yes,
ingest something. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That
All
was
right.
beautifully
Thanks.
said.
Thanks for that rant. I just needed to,
That's the truth, girl.
yeah, just didn't want
That,
to wrap up
that was a
before I
beautiful truth.
got off my chest. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Sweet.
right. So what do we want to do in our closure today? What do we want to
Well,
tell these people?
well, I just want to tease because one of the things we've been talking about, so stay tuned because I know we're going to talk about this, is one of our upcoming episodes is going to be about life as art.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
Oh,
stay tuned. Like get excited about that. So that
yeah.
turns me on, like the conversations we've been having in the background about that. So, but yes, you start us off with our
We will
reminders.
never run out of topics. It's hilarious. And I remember in the beginning, we're like, make a list of all the things what are we going to talk about? And I'm like, oh, please, girl.
It'll
I
come.
mean, we got
Between our
50.
clients and our own life and the media.
We are not going to run out of topics anytime soon.
We have a few things to say.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So for me, what I want to say is something I keep saying. Are they listening now? Are they listening? Hey, humans.
Mm.
How your life feels is more important than how it looks.
And every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.
All right.
Yay. Ciao.
Bye.